Bible verses about sin, Romans 7:23. But I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind, and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin that dwells in my members. James 1:15. Then, when lust has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death. Romans 5:12. Therefore, just as through one man sin entered the world, and death through sin, and thus death spread to all men because all sinned. Relevant words of God. Although man may have been redeemed and forgiven of his sins, this can only be considered as God, not remembering man's transgressions and not treating man according to his transgressions. However, when man living in a body of flesh has not been freed from sin, he can only continue to sin, endlessly revealing his corrupt satanic disposition. This is the life that man leads, an endless cycle of sinning and being forgiven. Most of humanity sins during the day only to confess at night. Thus, although the sin offering is forever effective for man, it will not be able to save man from sin. Only half of the work of salvation has been completed, for man still has a corrupt disposition. Running deeper than sin, it is something planted by Satan and deeply rooted in man. The consequences of committing sin. Romans 6:23. For the wages of sin is death. Isaiah 1:28. But transgressors and sinners will be destroyed together, and those who forsake the Lord will be consumed. Revelation 21. But the fearful, the unbelieving, the abominable, the murderers, the adulterers, the sorcerers, the idolaters, and all liars will have their part in the lake that burns with fire and sulfur. This is the second death. Ezekiel 18:20. The soul who sins will die. The son will not bear the iniquity of the father, nor will the father bear the iniquity of the son. The righteousness of the righteous will be on him, and the wickedness of the wicked will be on him. Matthew 7:21-23. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? And in your name have we cast out demons? And in your name have we not done many wonderful works? Then I will profess to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. Hebrews 10:26-27. For if we sin willfully after receiving the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for sins. 27. But a fearful expectation of judgment and a fiery indignation that will devour the adversaries. Peter 2:14. Having eyes full of adultery and insatiable in sin, enticing unstable souls, having a heart trained in greed, cursed children. Revelation 21:27. And nothing impure will enter it, nor anyone who practices abomination or lies, but only those who are written in the Lamb's book of life. Relevant words of God. Now is the time for me to determine the end of each person, not the stage of beginning to work humanity. I write down in my book of records, one by one, the words and deeds of each person, as well as the path they follow me, their inherent characteristics, and how they behaved in the end. In this way, no matter what kind of person they are, none will escape my hand, and all will be with those of their own kind as I designate. I decide the fate of each person not based on age, seniority, amount of suffering, much less the degree to which they inspire pity, but according to whether or not they possess the truth. There is no other choice but this. You must understand that all who do not follow God's will also be punished. This is an immutable fact. Therefore, all those punished are so punished for God's justice and as retribution for their numerous evil deeds. How to get rid of sin. Hebrews 12:14. Pursue peace with all men and holiness, without which no one will see the Lord. John 16:12-13. Still have many things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now. However, when He, the Spirit of truth, comes, He will guide you into all the truth. For He will not speak on His own, but whatever He hears, that will be His speech, and He will declare to you things to come. Revelation 3:22. He who has ears, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. John 12:47-48. And if anyone hears my words and does not believe them, I do not judge him. For I did not come to judge the world, but to save the world. He who rejects me and does not receive my words has one who judges him. The word that I have spoken will judge him on the last day. Peter 4:17. For the time has come for judgment to begin at the house of God. And if it begins with us, what will be the outcome of those who do not obey the gospel of God? Zechariah 13:8-9 in. All the land declares the Lord, 2 parts will be cut off and perish, but a third will be left in it. I will bring the third part through the fire and refine them as silver is refined, and I will try them as gold is tried. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. I will say, they are my people, and they will say, the Lord is my God. Daniel 12:9-10. He answered, Go your way, Daniel, for these words are closed up and sealed until the time of the end. Many will purify themselves, make themselves white, and be refined, but the wicked will act wickedly. None of them will understand, but the wise will understand. John 17:17. Sanctify them through your truth. Your word is truth. Relevant words of God. In the last days, Christ uses a variety of truths to teach humanity, expose the essence of humanity, and dissect their words and actions. These words encompass various truths: man's duty, how man should obey God, how man should be loyal to God, how man should live out normal humanity as well as God's wisdom and disposition, and so on. These words are all directed at man's essence and his corrupt disposition. In particular, these words that expose how man disdains God are spoken in relation to how man is the embodiment of Satan and an enemy force against God. In carrying out his work of judgment, God does not simply make clear man's nature with a few words. He also exposes, deals with, and prunes in the long run. These methods of exposure, dealing with, and pruning cannot be replaced by ordinary words, but by the truth that man absolutely lacks. Only methods of this kind can be called judgment. Only through judgment of this kind can man be subdued and completely convinced to submit to God, and moreover gain true knowledge of God. What the work of judgment produces is man's understanding of the true face of God and the truth about his own rebellion. The work of judgment allows man to gain a profound understanding of God's will, the purpose of God's work, and the mysteries that are incomprehensible to him. It also allows man to recognize and know his corrupt essence and the roots of his corruption, as well as to discover the ugliness of man. These effects are all produced by the work of judgment, for the essence of this work is, in fact, the work of revealing the truth, the way, and the life of God to all those who have faith in him. This work is the work of judgment performed by God. Through this work of judgment and chastisement, man will fully recognize the filthy and corrupt essence within himself, and he will be able to completely change and become clean. Only in this way can man become worthy to return before the throne of God. All the work done this day is so that man can be cleansed and changed through judgment and chastisement by the word as well. As through refinement, man can remove his corruption and be purified. Rather than regarding this stage of work as the work of salvation, it would be more appropriate to say that it is the work of purification. By what means is God's perfection of man accomplished? It is accomplished through his righteous disposition. God's disposition consists primarily of righteousness, wrath, majesty, judgment, and curse, and he perfects man primarily through his judgment. Some people misunderstand and ask why God is only able to perfect man through judgment and curse. They say, if God cursed man, would he not die? If God judged man, would he not be condemned? How then can he still be perfected? Such are the words of people who do not know God's work. What God curses is man's disobedience, and what he judges are man's sins. Though he speaks harshly and relentlessly, he reveals all that is within man, revealing through these harsh words what is essential within man. Yet through such judgment, he gives man a profound knowledge of the essence of the flesh, and thus man submits before God. Man's flesh is of sin and Satan. It is disobedient and the object of God's punishment. Thus, in order to allow man to know himself, the words of God's judgment must come upon him, and every manner of refinement must be employed. Only then can God's work be effective.